Well, Boeing is shaking off the bad news after reporting its first ever full-year loss this morning. Its worst financial performance in 20 years, with the cost of the 737 MAX crisis now at more than $19 billion. But investors seem confident that the worst is now behind Boeing. It did pretty well today. Is it? Maria Bartiromo asked the new CEO, David Calhoun, if the MAX 737 was really out of the woods. Listen.
I understand that this is a long lead time. There's quite a significant testing process here by the FAA, the software alone. You've got retrofitting to take place. Pilots have to go through simulation training. You do think that all of that is the schedule to have it back in the air by June?
We do.
Scott, that's a pretty confident yes for a string of problems that they got there. You think they'll make it?
There's many on the list, David, for sure. And I guess I love Dave Calhoun's moxie because you've got to be confident, I think, going into this, certainly seeing what's happened to Boeing stock and try to reassert shareholders. But I will tell you, there's one kind of small caveat that too, was part of that interview that Maria got with him, which was very good as far as revealing on they do need to get it recertified by June. So whether it gets recertified by, say, the end of June, David, and then it gets back up in the air in say, Q3 or Q4, that's really important for, I think, the stock here because the bad news is in the stock. I mean, I'm an investment advisor. We have clients that are starting to look at taking a bite out of this stock. So as you're looking to maybe add to Boeing here or get in there, realize that bad news, yes, will knock the stock down. But a lot of the bad news we already know, I think, is in the name.
Yeah, look, I think investors are hungry for this thing to recover because it is a great American company. The fact that you have a new CEO who is confident, who appears to have sort of put behind the company all the things that could now trip them up. In other words, I think they have done such extraordinary testing and sort of fact-checking on this thing that finding more problems is not likely. So I think that's why people are willing to step in.
Boeing has a good future ahead of itself like they did, before the whole MAX 737, mainly because there's an oligopoly.
Exactly.
Them and Airbus have an oligopoly. You're down to really buying 2 planes. Number 2, as we get more free trade, however you want to say it, free and fair trade, that's going to help Boeing, which is a huge exporter. The one thing that I think actually has hurt Boeing is that there's no more EXIM financing. And so that's something that, will be interesting is how people are financing. They were relying on it. Most of their planes were financed through EXIM financing.
But airlines love to have competitors. They at least want 2 suppliers, so Boeing will do just fine. And what other potential competitors have found out, David, it's pretty difficult to build an aircraft.
Yeah.
Not so easy.
It
The
ain't
Brazilians have discovered it. Chinese have discovered it.
I was going to mention, what about Embraer and some of the smaller
They're smaller,
companies?
and there's a market for that. But in terms of the bigger planes, and Boeing is moving into the smaller market, too.
And by the way, on financing, with interest rates where they are, banks loaded with cash, I don't think that's a big, huge problem.
Okay. And they also need buy-in from foreign airlines, too, guys. I mean, remember, the 2 crashes were foreign airlines, and you still need growth worldwide. I mean, the U.S. could be on recovery, but will foreign airlines buy in as well is the question.
All right. I think I sense a bullishness here on Boeing long-term. Meanwhile, appetite...